Hello everyone. Here at the threshold, at the end of July and beginning of August, many are celebrating the feast of Saint Elias and the ancient holiday of Perun which preceded it, along with the holiday of the first Saturday or Sunday of August, one of Mary's many feasts associated with the pre-Christian holiday of the sun goddess in Poland. While the topic of Perun is too complicated and expansive to have the video about him finished in time for his holiday, we've prepared a short video in acknowledgement of his sister, the Lady Sun, about their additional sister or sisters. One of the most prevalent characters in Polish children's stories is that of young Zorze or Zorza. Her name describes the low light typically divided into dawn and dusk by English but unified into one concept by Polish. Across her many folk songs and stories, she might appear as a single young woman or young girl, or as a collection, most often of 2 or 3 sisters who divide the sky. Always a morning and evening sister, and sometimes a sister of noon through the halo of the sun, or of midnight through the nighttime auroras and the crown of light around the moon. Within songs, she is often sung to by mothers to protect their children, preserving ancient evocational prayers. One prayer song of a mother for the health of her child follows. Zorje, Zorje, 3 sisters, the Mother of God went to the sea. She gathered golden foam. St. John met her, and he asked, "Where are you going, mother?" "I'm going to heal my son." Zorje was said to live far away, on an island at the end of the seas, or atop the furthest mountain, often named Golden or Crystal Mountain or Island. Many songs, such as this one preserved by poetry, allude to the daily journey which young Zorje makes across the sky and then back to her homeland. Zorje has set beyond the mountains. Zorje has set beyond the fields. Swallow feathers blow away somewhere. Fate has flown. Oh, fate, driven by wind, rocked by the noise of the forests, you have not bloomed for me, not like a flower in the glow of a May morning. You have not shone in the ears of grain on earth, nor as a star in heaven, but instead you have gone into the distant world, over the trampled fields. Along with evocations by the mother to ensure good fate for her child, Zorje is the guardian of unclaimed and unprotected orphans. Many songs connect the lost orphan to the light-bearer, such as this poem informed heavily by such songs. She was led down those field paths, blue cornflowers and blue buttercups. She was led by that gray horizon, the song of the lark, the buzz of mosquitoes. She was led by those noisy heads of grain, lush grasses and pearls of dew. She was led by that golden Zorje, because she was an orphan. Oh forest, dark forest, oh the voice carries through you. Oh the trees rustle in you. Oh your silence sings. She was led down birch paths, green mosses under her feet. She was led by those sheepberry ferns, forest thickets and paths. She was led by oaks and pines, a deep rustle, a mournful rustle. The forest led her through its gates, because she was an orphan. Oh forest, dark forest, oh the voice carries through you. Oh the trees rustle in you. Oh your silence sings. She was led past these rocky peaks, this mountain soaring into the sky. She was led over noisy springs, to those castles, to those rooms. She was led by those eagle feathers, to the mountain standing in the snow. She was led by those boisterous winds, to the royal chambers of the Tatras. She was led by golden Zorje, because she was an orphan. It seems likely that Zorje protects children because of her own experience. Her daily cycle across the sky is firmly connected to the myth of her childhood. This myth can be seen in fragments across countless songs and expressions. The telling presented here owes much specific poetic language to the Christianized rendering published by Artur Oppman, from which I have simply removed his sparsely added Christian imagery. I still find his telling to be the most beautiful in detail and undeniably influential. The story in general is as follows, owing much of its poetic language to him. As a fisherman, Zorje's father went out to sea, and what it resulted in is this. On the yellow shore of the Baltic Sea, ages ago, before the ancient times, there stood a cottage in the middle of a village, inconspicuous and tiny. The village was poor, quiet. It was inhabited by fishermen, and the owner of that cottage was the poorest among them. But although he had neither gold, nor silver, nor expensive clothes, nor furniture, nor marble palaces, he did not complain about his fate, because the heavens gave him other treasures far more valuable. They had strong health, diligence, pure heart and conscience. He had a good, thrifty wife, and he had his daughter who shone brightly as the dawn. So she was named Zorje, and she loved her father dearly, and he and his wife loved her. She was golden-haired, blue-eyed, fair-faced, always smiling pleasantly, a friend to everyone, like a radiant sun. And as soon as the morning dawned, the fisherman got boldly into his boat and sailed out to sea to cast his net. He caught fish, which he later carried to the nearby castle, and he sold it for a nice profit to the castle cook. And Zorje at that time ran to the seashore and looked for bright amber in the yellow sand. Then at home they worked in the evenings. She and her mother made earrings and chains, or decorative bracelets, beautiful trinkets, and they took them to the city and sold them for silver, and that's how they lived. One day, as usual, the fisherman set out in his boat on a morning journey, having tenderly said goodbye to his wife and beloved daughter. The day passed, the evening came. Silver stars embroidered the sky, and two-horned Prince Moon migrated to the blue skies. And then the night fled, and the sun rose again, but the fisherman was still gone, and the night flew away again. The fishing boat did not return. So distressed by the delay, mother and daughter looked sad. They cried bitterly. They renounced that the fisherman was missing. They pleaded, what could have happened to him? There was no storm to sink the boat. The sea was smooth and calm. There was no news about him anywhere, no advice, no encouragement from anywhere. So left to themselves, sitting in their tears, Zorje said to her mother, Dear mother, it is in vain to wait. Father will probably not return. I have to hit the road. I am strong and I am brave. At the same time, I am well acquainted with the boat, with the oar, and with the sea. Today I will sail with the swift waves. Maybe God will help me. Maybe I will manage to find Father. So Zorje's mother hugged her and blessed her. So Zorje got into her boat, her tiny rowboat, and sailed into the bright distance. And she sailed on as heaven was cleared up and gilded golden by the great sun. And Zorje, floating, still thinking about what could have happened to her father, her heart bursting with sorrow, she vowed in her mind that she would not return to her mother until she found her father. In the blue sky, a single tiny cloud appeared, as tiny as a handkerchief, but before her eyes it grew. It kept growing and darkening, the harbinger of a fierce storm. So Zorje was seized with fear, not for herself, but for her father, who would find him if she drowned. So she sailed in her boat, and soon the storm began. Lightning and thunder struck, like 40 guns roaring. Bloody lightning flashed. The sea swelled and foamed. Huge waves rushed by, roaring like a herd of bison chasing a herd of wolves. There was a terrible confusion all around. The boat jumped on the wave crests. It plunged toward the abyss. It rose and plunged, but the little wanderer, strengthened by her courage, boldly awaited the end of the storm. Eventually, the storm subsided, and as it passed away, soon the thunder was roaring in the distance like a cannon far away. And the sea fell calm and gentle, and Zorje's boat sailed between the two abysses, the stars above and the stars below. and eventually, far, far away, Zorje spotted land, the distant shore of a distant land which she didn't recognize. The boat sailed in a swift wind, already getting closer to land, and she distinguished the dense and enormous trees. The rocks were steep and high, the moonlight reflected on many ponds and lakes, shimmering as if they were made of silver. The boat hit the shore, and Zorje jumped out quickly. She tied the boat with a rope to an old willow tree by the shore, and she set off on her journey as soon as possible. The girl was walking through a dark wilderness where there was no path. She pushed through thicket to go further, further through thorns and ferns. Owls were hooting, night birds like evil spirits lamenting. The forest was dark and gloomy, and suddenly a light flashed in the distance, a yellow and red flame, like a small lantern, like a burning eye in the darkness. So Zorje went towards the lights. She came to realize they were the shining windows of a small cottage, overgrown with moss. That cottage stood on chicken feet. It turned round and round. From the cottage a strange cry came, a yelp and a squeak, a meow and a bark, a snoring and a moaning, and suddenly a hand appeared from the window, thin, long, and stringy, and as Zorje passed by, the hand seized her braid. The girl was frightened, but before she could scream out in fear, the hand had already pulled her through the window into the cottage. Zorje looked round and saw herself held by the braid by a strange woman. Her scattered gray hair hung almost to the ground. Her eyes burned like coals. Her nose was crooked like a hook. Her teeth were yellow and crooked, and there were plenty of creatures around, dogs and cats, crows and ravens, salamanders and lizards, even a crocodile. Everything was screaming like crazy, whining, screeching, cawing, purring, until the girl fell to the ground, half fainting, and the woman asked, "Why did you come here, girl? You have wandered here to your own ruin. You will not return home again. Never again in your life will you see neither father nor mother, nor your native cottage, nor your dear homeland. I am the grandmother, the child trapper. I have been sitting in the wilderness for 1,000 years now, and I catch lost children to bake them and eat them. I'll do the same to you soon. I'll quarter you, and for tomorrow I'll have a delicious roast." It was terrible to hear such words. Zorje cried bitterly, and, falling to her knees, she spoke to the old woman. "Oh, have mercy on me, bright godmother, child grabber. I am always good, and I pray devoutly. I'm looking for my father right now, who has disappeared without a trace, because I am the fisherman's daughter, from the other side of the sea. Grandmother, instead of eating me, grant me a great favor, and kindly explain to me what has happened to my father." The old woman pondered, and after a while she said, "Ha! What it is you say, I have no power over. I only catch children who are mischievous and naughty, disobedient to their parents, and always lazy in their studies. And you, girl, you deserve to be helped. So I will tell you about your father, because I know perfectly well where he is. For a long time now, the daughter of the Baltic king, the beautiful lady of the Baltic Sea, has been fiercely angry with the fishermen. You see, your father kept fishing the fish who were the subjects of her, drawing her away from her home, so he deprived the king of the sea of both his daughter and their favorite handmaidens. Then, as he was sailing in the boat, the princess swam up and dragged him to the bottom of the sea with her own hands. And there he sits in an empty cell in her amber palace. The prison guard is guarding him, and he won't let anyone in there. If you want to save your father, there's only one thing left for you. Throw your body boldly into the ocean, and stand in the amber palace, and beg the beautiful princess of the sea. Maybe she will hear your prayers and release your father from prison, or maybe she'll imprison you with him." Zorje thanked grandmother and set off on her journey as quickly as possible, even though the night was gloomy all around, even though the wilderness was full of animals. Lynxes purred, wolves howled, and bears roared, but Zorje was not afraid. Her father's love gave her strength. What do wild beasts mean to her when her father languishes in prison? She went straight to the seashore. She stood above the water, and bang! Into the gray, murky waves she dove. Suddenly the Baltic Sea began to rock, the sea depths opened up, and the girl fell to the bottom of the sea like a heavy stone thrown. Soon she was standing on the yellow sand which lines the bottom of the sea. She looked. In the distance, the palace shone, the beautiful amber palace. So in this direction runs Zorje, to get there as quickly as possible to her dear father, who is perishing miserably in prison. There are guards in front of the palace, 2 huge whales. They wield fierce halberds, and they have swords at their sides.
"What do you want here, little girl? Why do you come to the bottom of the sea?"
"I want to see the princess and have an audience with her."
"Who are you?"
"I am Zorje, the daughter of the unfortunate man in prison. Please take me to the princess." These whales had hearts quite soft and honest, so immediately one of the 2 guards went to the princess. After a moment the guard returned.
"Our lady has graciously consented to an audience and your introduction. Follow me, earthly child, and I will lead you to her."
Zorje followed the guard through the most magnificent salons. Wherever she looked, amber, pearls, diamonds, and corals. Through the large mirrored windows, she saw what was happening in the sea, fish swimming by, their gills ringing against the glass, until at last, in the great hall, on a golden throne of pride, there sat the miracle virgin, the princess of the Baltic Sea. Long hair the color of gold framed her beautiful head. Blue eyes looked brightly, full of mercy. So the girl got rid of her fears, and with encouragement she approached the feet of the lady. She fell down, stretching out her arms, and she begged, half crying, "O princess, have mercy on my father and me, and my poor mother who longs for us. Do not kill 3 beings who love each other passionately. Be great, like a queen, and release my father. From now on, he will never again dare to fish in the Baltic Sea. Your subjects, he will take up another craft. And if you really want punishment, then tell Daddy to let him out and lock me in the cell. Please, let me spend the rest of my life there." Thus prayed poor Zorje. Tears flew from her bright eyes, and every one that fell to the ground immediately turned into a pearl. And the princess rose from her throne, and she approached the girl, and she put a soft hand on her braided head, and to Zorje she said, "Your love has moved me. It is rare to find a heart as honest as yours. I will release your father from his cell. I will take you to him soon. And to show my grace, I will reward you royally." So the beautiful lady walked with Zorje through the castle corridors, and they went to the basement where the poor prisoners sat. The doors covered with iron there, no windows. The only light rained from above, dark and grey. Oh, what a terrible prison. The guard who accompanied them took a key from his bag and opened the door. There, in the cell, the dear father sat. He had been sitting for so long. Zorje grabbed him by the neck and kissed and caressed him. How surprised he was when he saw his daughter, and with her the miracle virgin, the lady of the Baltic Sea. "You are free," the lady said. "Free thanks to your daughter. A good child is your virtue. She has freed you from your bondage." The fisherman immediately fell at her feet and thanked her most humbly. He then embraced his daughter, kissing her forehead, crying, and the princess continued, "May you live in prosperity from now on. I only ask you abandon your craft and no longer catch my subjects. I will give you plenty at once. Come with me to the treasury." And the 3 of them went together, followed by the guard with the basket. There were whole stacks in the treasury, shining pearls and corals, laying there on the floor, like sand. "Take as much as you want. Fill a whole basket." And immediately the fisherman and little Zorje got to work. The basket was already full to the brim, and the princess said, "Let them harness my dolphins to the golden carriage. I will lead these land-dwellers to the shores of their country, because I want to show my favor to little Zorje with flaxen hair." 2 little dolphins raced in, harnessed with blue ribbon to a golden carriage. The beautiful miracle maiden got in. The fisherman went in with Zorje. The guard pulled the basket to the box, and the dolphins set off immediately. They sailed straight to the coast, where the fisherman's cottage stood, and on the sand along the shore the travelers disembarked. Zorje bid farewell to the miracle virgin, and gave the most tender thanks. The old fisherman fell at her feet and promised to change his life. Then the waves rose, and the dolphins and beautiful carriage and beautiful lady of the Baltic Sea disappeared, and Zorje and her father carried the basket to the cottage, to her beloved mother, who was waiting for them with longing. What joys there were! What incredible happiness! From then on, all three of them lived happily. Instead of a cottage, the fisherman built a beautiful manor, and built a stable next to it. Then both barns and sheepfold, he founded a large farm. He never caught fish in the sea, and Zorje very often went and embarked across the sea to again visit her royal friend at the bottom in her amber palace. We understand that songs referencing this adventure and this tale retelling it are the descendants of the ancient myth explaining the dawn's journey through the sky. Most plainly reading, we see Zorje, the beautiful dawn at the start of the day, and then she disappears on her journey, down to the bottom of the sea, and then Zorje reappears as dusk at the end of the day. And every day she repeats her journey across the sky. The farm that she and her father built is understood to be the distant and mysterious Golden Island or Golden Mountain, a beautiful palace in the design of that at the bottom of the sea, inspired by her dear friend. And this dwelling became the domain of many celestial figures, most obviously Zorje, and soon also the sun resided there. While in this story Zorje is an only child, we can find in song fragments that she was thought to be the sister of the sun. Her father, in older versions of the story no longer preserved in their entirety, was likely Svarog, her mother likely Motherland. The Christianized version of the tale saw Zorje praying during the storm which rocked her boat, then seeing the storm lighten up and allow her to pass. This likely a fragment of an earlier story where in the middle portion, crossing the sea, she encountered or was aided by her brother Perun. We'll eventually explore additional songs and iterations about Zorje in the eventual video about her. But since that's a long way down the line, we thought that this might be a nice way to both initiate interest in the topic and observe this special holiday. Thank you everyone, and thank you for your patience. A new Polytheism 101 video is hopefully following soon.